When an astronaut heard silence, where a voice should be. In space, silence is normal. But there is one kind of silence that stops the heart before the mind understands why. It happened in a moment that was supposed to be ordinary. A routine exchange, a familiar voice expected on the other end. Instead, there was nothing. To understand why this moment still echoes today, we need to understand how much astronauts depend on connection. Spaceflight is often framed as isolation, but survival depends on constant communication. Voices are anchors, proof that someone is watching, proof that you are not alone. The mission had been progressing smoothly, systems stable, timelines on track, communication loops steady and predictable. Call and response, question and answer, a rhythm that defined safety. Then the rhythm broke. A transmission was sent. The astronaut waited. Static filled the channel. No acknowledgement, no confirmation. Just open silence where a voice should have been. At first, it felt like a delay, a technical hiccup, something that would resolve in seconds. The astronaut repeated the call, calm and measured. Still nothing. Inside the spacecraft, the environment felt suddenly smaller. The hum of systems grew louder. Time stretched. The absence of response carried weight no alarm could match. Communication failures were not uncommon, but this felt different. The channel was open. The equipment appeared functional, and yet the voice did not return. The astronaut ran through procedures, checked connections, verified settings. Everything appeared normal. That was the problem. If nothing was broken, why was no one answering? Thoughts escalated quickly. Had something happened on the other end? Was the crew member safe? Was ground control experiencing an issue? Or was this isolation becoming absolute? For the first time on the mission, the astronaut felt truly alone. Not distant from Earth, not separated by orbit, but cut off. Suspended in a place where reassurance traveled only through sound. And as the silence continued, the mind filled the void with possibilities no training scenario fully prepares you for. Because in space, silence is not just absence, it is uncertainty. Seconds passed, then minutes, each one stretching longer than the last. The astronaut kept the channel open, listening intently, hoping for any signal that would break the stillness. Silence in space carries a different weight. There is no background noise to soften it, no distant traffic, no wind, just the steady hum of life support and the echo of your own breathing. The astronaut checked instruments again. Signal strength appeared normal, power levels stable, no error indicators. Everything suggested communication should be working. That made the silence more disturbing. Procedures dictated calm repetition. Send the call again. Wait. Log the anomaly. Continue monitoring. The astronaut followed every step, but the emotional response lagged behind protocol. Without feedback, imagination takes control. Was there an emergency elsewhere on the mission? Had something gone wrong outside their field of view? Was this the beginning of a larger systems failure? The mind searched for reassurance in numbers and readouts, but data cannot replace a human voice, especially not in an environment where survival depends on constant coordination. The astronaut became acutely aware of isolation, not the abstract idea of distance from Earth, but the immediate reality of being alone in a sealed environment, surrounded by vacuum, with no confirmation that help was listening. Training teaches astronauts to expect delays, to work through contingencies. But training does not eliminate instinct. An instinct responds to silence as threat. The astronaut adjusted posture, grounding themselves, slowed breathing deliberately, focused on maintaining clarity. Panic would solve nothing. Panic would only narrow options. Still, the silence persisted. Every system check came back clean. Every attempt at communication returned nothing. The contradiction deepened the unease. If nothing was wrong, why did it feel like everything was? This was the moment when routine fractured, when confidence gave way to vigilance, when the astronaut understood that connection is not guaranteed, even with the most advanced technology ever built. And as the silence continued unbroken, another realization began to surface. Sometimes the most frightening failures are the ones you cannot see, because without a voice on the other end, certainty disappears. And in space, uncertainty is the most dangerous condition of all. The astronaut began expanding the checklist: backup channels, alternate frequencies, redundant systems designed specifically for moments like this. Each switch flipped with care. Each adjustment followed precisely. Still nothing. The silence was no longer just unsettling. It was personal. Communication was the thread that tied the astronaut to the rest of humanity. Without it, the distance from Earth felt infinite. Inside the spacecraft, time slowed. Without conversation, tasks lost rhythm. Every action felt amplified. The smallest sound echoed. The mind, deprived of reassurance, searched for patterns where none existed. Ground control had always been there, a constant presence, calm voices guiding decisions, confirming status, sharing responsibility. Their absence turned every choice into a solitary burden. The astronaut considered worst-case scenarios: a system's failure on Earth, a relay outage, a problem elsewhere in orbit. None were immediately fatal, but all carried implications that demanded preparation. There was also the psychological pressure of uncertainty. If communication did not return, decisions would have to be made alone. Orbit adjustments, power management, mission priorities. Responsibility concentrated into a single mind. Training resurfaced in fragments. Simulations of isolation, emergency autonomy drills, lessons designed for situations that were never meant to feel this real. The astronaut anchored themselves in procedure, movement by movement, check by check. Maintaining structure was the only way to prevent the mind from spiraling. Minutes stretched longer. The silence became oppressive. Not loud, not dramatic, just heavy. Then faintly, almost imperceptibly, something changed. A flicker of static shifted, a subtle alteration in the background noise. Not a voice, not yet, but a sign that the void might not be permanent. The astronaut leaned closer, listening intently. Heart rate steady, breath controlled. Hope restrained by discipline. Because in space, false hope can be just as dangerous as fear. And the silence, though fractured, had not fully broken. Not yet. The static sharpened slowly, like a signal pushing its way through resistance. Then, at last, a voice emerged, faint, distorted, but unmistakably human. Relief arrived instantly, followed by a wave of exhaustion. The astronaut acknowledged the transmission, steady and professional, as if the silence had never happened. Procedures resumed, status reports exchanged, normalcy restored on the surface. But something had changed. The silence had revealed a truth that lingered long after communication returned. Connection is not guaranteed. Even surrounded by advanced systems and redundancy, isolation can arrive without warning. Later analysis traced the issue to a temporary relay disruption, a known risk, a documented possibility, a technical explanation that fit neatly into reports and briefings. But no report could fully capture what those minutes of silence felt like. In that gap, the astronaut had confronted complete autonomy. No reassurance, no confirmation, just training, instinct, and responsibility. That experience reshaped how they approached every mission afterward. Communication was no longer background noise. It was lifeline. Every response mattered. Every acknowledgement carried weight. For space agencies, the incident reinforced a critical lesson. Redundancy is not just technical. It is psychological. Astronauts need connection as much as oxygen. Silence, even temporary, can erode confidence and clarity. Today, as missions venture farther from Earth, delays and communication gaps will become normal. Minutes will stretch into hours, hours into days. Autonomy will replace constant oversight. And that makes this moment more relevant than ever. Because one day, an astronaut will speak into the void and wait far longer than minutes for an answer. In that silence, decisions will still have to be made. Sometimes the smallest shift in perspective becomes the beginning of a new future.